All right, welcome everyone to this week's bi-weekly podcast where we get a chance to tell you what we think you should pay attention to this week or maybe just over the last 250 years or so. Oh, wait, that's just today. So today is really a chance for us to reflect on something that happened over the weekend, and that's we turned 250. So in 1776, our founding fathers, we are very grateful for the fact that they put their lives, their families, and all that risk and peril to become a free nation. So the one that we celebrate here today, some people have different opinions of it, but I think if we truly look at the basis of it, it still is the American dream in many ways. So with that today, I'm grateful for the fact that our founders and all of you who have done something to defend our nation and freedom, military, first responders, police, firemen, that give us the ability to sit here and pontificate about certain items, but most importantly, to sit here and be grateful for what you've done. And I don't just mean that as topical. I mean, I am grateful for what you have suffered and how you suffered today in your life for the things that you did to serve our country. I want to thank you tremendously for that. I want to make sure you understand my gratitude is deep and heartfelt, and I understand what the freedom cost and price was. And hopefully the rest of us who haven't done that are worth it to you. Thank you for that. Why don't I pass it over to let's say Ken?
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. Well said. Great to be on the podcast with you. And yeah, I echo the same thing here in Mequon. There's something called Fun Before the Fourth, and it's a chance to celebrate what Chris just said. And without what Chris just said, we don't get the chance to celebrate what just happened in Mequon. It's kind of funny how that works in that way. So just my gratitude goes out. I mean, if you want to take a walk at 7 a.m. in the morning, you can. If you want to go visit a friend whenever you want, you can. If you want to go visit with family, you can. All because of what Chris just said about all of you. So thank you very much for that. And my gratitude is also heartfelt, just like Chris's.
Thank you. Thank you, Ken. Let's go to how about Zach?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Grateful as well for the 250th. And I don't know if it was just looking out for it, but it just seemed like it was a little bit more patriotic year this year, which was just very fun to see and witness. And also just a gratitude. Yesterday, I got the opportunity to study with Strategic Coach, like I get the opportunity to every quarter. And yesterday, I still heard other financial advisors and teams that are part of the program refer to their people they work for as clients and customers. And it's just like, scratching on a chalkboard whenever I hear that because we truly view each of you and your families as our family, and it's just such an honor to work with you and work for you on your behalf. So that's my gratitude today.
I appreciate Zach. How about Ashley?
Thank you, Chris. I'm just grateful to see our country coming together. I got a chance to go to Boston during the World Cup, and I don't know if it's because of the World Cup, all the different countries around us. I just feel like our country has really come together and shown its patriotism. So I am just grateful for that and to be a part of this country and everything it has to offer.
Thank you. How about Mike Mann?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Despite the recent match Monday night, grateful for the United States men's national team. Tillman gave us some things to cheer about, hitting in the two goals. I mean, it's been so long since we've had a set piece go in like that, and for him to do it 2 games back to back, pretty incredible. So really fun watching that, enjoying it. And then the same with Ashley. I've really enjoyed I haven't been able to go to a game or experience it personally, but to see all of the posts on social media, everything that's coming out with how much others are enjoying the United States right now, coming to support their own teams, that's been really fun, and it's uniting the nation, and in a way, it unites the world, and you can see how powerful something like the World Cup really is for a place, just in general, wherever it may be. So it's fun that it's in the United States this year.
I fully agree. Thank you. How about Mr. Birschbach?
Thank you, Chris. I'm grateful for one of my closest friends. He actually put on his third annual golf outing this past weekend. Always does it around the 4th of July, but it's for the benefit of youth sports in my hometown. And just to see over the last 3 years how much he's improved the event and grown the event year over year, it's just really cool to see a community come together for that benefit. So thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Michael. How about Ben?
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, my gratitude again goes out to celebrating 250 years of this great country, and also to my wife who got fully into the spirit, and she dressed up as George Washington for the entire weekend to celebrate our patriotism. So having a little fun, enjoy celebrating America because we get a lot of wonderful things here, and it's not to be taken for granted.
Thank you very much, Ben. I appreciate that. So the rest of you who are on this podcast right now, I can see you. Yeah, you guys are sitting there having your coffee. Hey, wait, don't go. Come back. Uh, why don't you type in the chat if you like, or your questions? Why don't you type what you're grateful for while we're continuing on? So just get a chance to put a few items in that you're grateful for if you get a chance here. If you can do that on your iPad, your phone, or your computer, go ahead and do so. So before we head into this today, and I go to our Mike's Minute, but I wanted to just first talk about a couple things that I wrote here, and really looking at America at 250. And I'd say this: we didn't build this, but we inherited it, and that's super important. And I was kind of thinking over the 250 years sounds like a super long time, but I did this one time when I was eulogizing my great grandmother. If you think about it, it does sound like a long time. However, have you ever had anybody in your family live to 83? I have. I've had 94. I've had beyond that. That's only 3 generations ago. So that's your great great grandparents that founded our country. Again, if you go end to end, it's really not quite as long as you think. You have much more of a connection to it than you think as well. So as I went back and even thought about that, it's only really 3 lifetimes old, and that's it. So you look at this kind of young country, if you will, many say it's old, but none of us created it. None of us wrote the Constitution. None of us crossed the Delaware, or maybe Mike Mann has crossed the Delaware because he lives near there. But none of us survived Valley Forge, but we inherited something. And I think key for us is just like many of us, we inherit wealth. We inherited this freedom. And every inheritance comes with a simple question is, what will we do with it? I think that's what we really look at today. And I'm always married to that question. So here, a couple of my favorite facts. I'll read these. In 1776, there were only about 2.5 million people living here. Today, there's 340 million. I had a conversation. I was at a Barnes and Noble with I didn't really a conversation. We were talking about something. And this woman was just disparaging the US, just disparaging it and how awful this stuff was. And I said, I just asked a simple question. Then, can I ask you a question? She said, yeah, sure, absolutely. Then why are people still dying to get in? Literally, crossing borders, doing things you and I would never do. I just asked the question and I said nothing, completely flustered. I just asked the question, why do people still continue to do that? Because there's a dream here. Somebody once said this. You can be from Spain, you can be from Mexico, you can come here, and you are American, no matter what your former nationality was. What you can't do is be American and go to France and become French, or go to Germany and become German. We're a unique place, a unique melting pot. I think Dan Sullivan once said that to me, and Strategic Coach, as Zach was at, and it's really always stuck with me. This is the one place where you can become a new identity, and you've got the freedom to do what you'd like to do. So the idea is outlive politicians. I think freedom was our greatest transition, our greatest, really, maybe it's invention, not even invention, but our greatest product that we've given here. But at Gentian, we talk about stewardship. We talk about money as stewardship, families are stewardship, but America is stewardship as well. So I just wanted to go with that segment real quick. I thought it was an interesting start and the way I kind of reflected on the US. Before I head into Mike's Minute, I just wanted to throw that in. But Mr. Mann, what do you have for us? Give me Mike's Minute.
Yeah, no, happy to do so. And Chris, I think I really appreciated what you said. Recently being in Italy, you realize how young things truly are here. And I think that's one of the reasons why earlier people who come to visit now, they get to experience things that don't exist there because our infrastructure was basically a blank template. They were able to create things that couldn't exist elsewhere, and it became what it is. So anyways, my math brain loves 250. Why? Because now we have a lot of data, and what data gives us is sample sizes, and sample sizes help us come to conclusions based about what happened in the past. So one of the things I want to talk about today, despite all the turmoil that's going on in the world, things that are happening, turmoil, get it? Anyways, we're going to chat a little bit about revisiting some of those sample sizes, some of the things that give us some perspective and making some decisions. So despite all those things happening, the markets are just below all-time highs. In fact, they're 2% below all-time highs currently right now. And so I want to bring perspective as to why investing at an all-time high is still a good idea. Some people want to wait, some people want to watch for that dip, that drop, these things like that. It's a great time to put money to work when you have it available, when it does happen. But if you're making a decision to invest today and it's at an all-time high, don't let that thwart it. Why? Because in fact, actually, 31% of all-time highs have set a new market floor. And what that floor means is that the market never dipped 5% below that all-time high. It just continued onward. And in fact, almost 7% of all trading days, the S&P 500 closes at a new all-time high. What does that mean? It means that once it sets that all-time high, it likes to proceed onward. And if that's not enough for you, when we're looking back just to 1988, so those first stats came from 1950 onward. When we look back to 1988, almost 40 years ago, when investing at an all-time high in comparison to any other day, the market and the growth over time has been almost exactly the same over different time periods. In fact, once you reach out as far as 1 year, 2 year, 3 and 5, it's actually better returns on average when investing in an all-time high than in comparison to every other day. They're very close. And that's the point, right? It just shows that there isn't necessarily a better time to invest than today, regardless of where the market's traded at. So thank you, Chris. I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Mike. What I thought was interesting about Mike, and is I was just saw this, he hung a copy of the U.S. Constitution on his wall, and he called it the Declaration of Independence. So thanks, Mike, for doing that. That was pretty cool. How about let's go to Zach's facts?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Really appreciate it. I'll go through where markets are at for the year as normal, and then I'll share a few S&P 500 facts as well over the last about 100 years or so. So the Dow Jones up about 10% on the year. Every single one of these indices that I'll go through are actually up about 1 or 2% since a month ago. The S&P 500 about 9.6. The NASDAQ, which is heavily weighted towards technology, has had actually its best 2 year run in a very, very long time. And this year to date is up 11%. The Russell 2000, which is those smaller size companies, is up 20% on the year. International about 8.5%, and emerging markets about 20% as well. So really nice to see the international and emerging market side doing well, because they really lagged behind for a 4 to 5 year stretch. So it just shows why it's so important to rebalance and also have different asset classes within your portfolio as well. So I'll run through these very briefly. I know we have a lot to share here, but as Chris mentioned, one of my first days at Genty, and Chris shared a book with me called The Empire of Wealth by John Steele Gordon, and it always resonated with me for perspective of just how amazing the capital markets are and just the wealth creation that occurred, that it wasn't really through conquest that America grew. It was through innovation, entrepreneurship, and the opportunity for everyone to partake in the profits of publicly traded companies. The S&P 500 in 1926 was actually only 90 stocks and became 500 in 1957. It was $17 in 1940. It was 102 in 1982. And at the 2009 low, it was 677. As of market close yesterday, it was above 7,500. So just unbelievable innovation and growth and earnings growth over time for these companies. Something that I thought was really cool too is just that since 1928, so about 100 years ago, there's been 56 corrections of 10% or more. Every single one of them, as Mike mentioned, has retested a new high at some point, 100% of the time. And then I was just curious and just wanted to see what was the worst 30-year period, that if we're retired for 30 years or more, or investing for 30 years or more, what is the worst 30-year rolling period for markets? It was 7.8%, and that started in 1929. So when you look at what all occurred from 1929 to 1959, just an unbelievably tough time for the world in general, as far as Great Depression, World War II, coming out of those. So it's just, Chris always has a saying, the great companies continue to climb the wall of worry, and it's just really fun to reflect on the last 100 years to show that how true that really is. So with that, Chris, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you. And that book as well, I think I learned this very quickly. It's through that and also Alan Greenspan's book. Both are awesome. But when you look at a true view of the United States, we're an economic engine first, loosely knit by politics. Listen to that. So we're an economic engine first, loosely knit by politics. That's not what the media has you believe today, but that is still how it operates. Entrepreneurs and economics drive America and drive Americans. Politics knits and hopefully doesn't separate us, but loosely knit by politics. It was an interesting one. It was a great concept that came from it as well. Thank you, Zach. I appreciate that. Great book. I've got a whole bunch of steps I want to bring from the book, but I'm not going to because I thought it was fun. But here's an interesting fact. Did you realize that only 3% of the colonists actively fought in the Revolutionary War? 3%. Yet they changed history. Let me go to Ben. Mr.
Thanks.
Ben, I call the Energizer Benny section.
I can do that for you.
Please, Ben.
Bring some energy here this morning. No, thanks, Chris. I just wanted to kind of touch on the importance of staying the course and saying that we plan for this. As the news might tell you, there's always going to be some reason not to be involved. And as Mike just mentioned, we're constantly seems to be always at all-time highs. Interesting. But if you look back at our 250-year history, there's always been some sort of moment in history like, oh, this is the time. 1930s, people questioned if the capitalism would even survive the Great Depression. 1970s, people thought inflation and the oil crisis would go on forever. In 2000, people thought the internet was amazing, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. And it's a quick crash and a fad. Never going to use the internet again, as we sit here on a webcam live with all of you through the internet. 2008, everyone thought the financial and banking system would collapse entirely and we could never sustain it. And 2020 had a pandemic that shut down the entire world that no one saw coming. And it's not to say these aren't real moments that happen or that aren't real and people feel this. But when we're planning for the long term, as Zach said, over a 30-year time horizon, 40 years for retirement, we plan for this. We expect these things to happen. We know something will occur, but that's the importance of being invested, where if we are invested, we can sustain this and be prepared for it. Just alone, since 1986, investors have experienced about 7 bear markets, and that's 20% declines. 7. But yet, we're still sitting at an all-time high. So it just goes to show the plan of, hey, stay the course. We know it's going to happen. We don't know when or if. They can't be timed. But we know it'll happen, and we're planning for it. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you very much, Ben. I appreciate you as well. And that's true. I think the corrections are something we often look past and they frighten us while we're in it. There's some great statements about that, but I totally appreciate that as well. How about Michael? Mr. Birschbach, Michael Cycles. I like to call it that just because it rhymes. I have no other reason.
Thank you, Chris.
Mhm.
I want to talk today a little bit about the history of investing and how investors actually were able to invest, because that's changed dramatically over the years. But the one thing that stayed pretty consistent is human emotions. So before the internet, what happened is people who wanted to invest called their stockbroker, orders were handwritten, you got your confirmation slip in the mail, and generally you didn't know for a few days what exactly the price you paid for whatever investment you were making. You would see quotes from newspapers or evening television, and stock certificates were your actual proof of owning that stock. But things started to transition more over to electronic markets in the early 1970s. So in 1971, the NASDAQ launched as the first electronic stock market in the world. Trade still, of course, involved humans, but the quotations became computerized. And then we transitioned into the 80s and 90s, where computers started to handle more of that trading process. The execution of trades by those brokerage firms became faster, and information was available to investors almost instantly. Then we transitioned to the early 2000s, and this is where online brokers have exploded. Individuals could make trades themselves. You didn't have to call your stockbroker for every transaction you wanted to make. So just over that 30-year time period from 1970 to 2000, there was major amounts of change. But if we look at today, trades happen in milliseconds. You generally, in a lot of places, don't have to pay any commissions to place trades. You can own thousands of companies by buying one fund, and your phone has more information about the market than 40 years ago. People just have general access to. But as we look at this, what hasn't changed? Of course, technology is the exception. That has changed, but human nature has not. People still feel fear, greed, optimism, panic, overconfidence. This is still very, very real as we look over the entire investing timeline over the last 100 years. But every generation has believed that their challenges were unique. Every generation had reasons to worry about investing, but the one constant, innovation has continued, businesses have adapted, and the economy has kept growing and evolving over the long run. So just a lot of great reasons to believe today moving forward that history may not be exactly the same, but it often rhymes. So back to you, Chris.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Michael. Yeah, it does. It definitely rhymes. Sometimes I rhyme as well, if I have time. So, why don't we go next to Mr. Flannery? How about Mr. Ken Flannery? So, Ken's Corner.
Thank you, Mr. Doty. I appreciate that. And this year is called the semi-quincentennial. So there you go. There's a fact for you on that one. Hard for me to say, but a semi-quincentennial is 2026 year. So when you look at the financial system in general, you look at planning in general. So it's really morphed big time in the last probably 30 to 40 years. But if you went back like 200 years and 250 years, you start to see the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913. The Federal Reserve basically controls the money and creates stability in the world, if you will. You see FDIC insurance come through in 1933. You also see the Social Security Administration. So Social Security created in 1935. 90 years later, here we are talking about Social Security. And is it viable? Will it be around? How are they going to fix it? And all these things have come about to be. Back in 19, let's go back 50 years, 1976. 401ks didn't even exist in 1976. Roth IRAs didn't even exist in 1976. 401ks came about in the late 70s, wildly popular in the 80s, and that's how a lot of us build wealth through 401ks and personal investing. And those have only been around for 30 to 35 to 40 years at max. So very, very new. Here we talk about family wealth planning and Roth IRAs. Those didn't come about until 1997. So that's only what, 30 years old or so, right? So again, all these things that we're talking about today is quite remarkable because it's a lot of it's happened in the last 20 to 30 years of what is happening in our world today. We used to live on land. Land used to be the thing you owned. Now it's financial assets. Now it's homes, 401ks, investments, different companies you can own. It's changed dramatically since how we know it. Pensions used to be the thing. You used to work for a company for 30 years, get a pension, get Social Security, and retire. That was retirement at that point in time. Now pensions in a select few sectors still exist, but pretty much have gone away. Social Security is up in the air. The younger generations that we talk to, so your kids, your grandkids, aren't counting on Social Security when we're doing planning. It's not something that they don't like. They don't say, "Oh yeah, Social Security will be there." They want to create plans where Social Security isn't in the plan. And so this is just another morphing of the system going to more personal investment. Everything is landing on the individual, and they're responsible for their own financial freedom. And that's exactly what we're trying to accomplish with you. Not only do we have freedom in the United States of America, and we are blessed and honored. I just saw a nice post by Mick as well. We're honored to help you create financial freedom through what you trust us with. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. Let me begin this section before I go to Ashley. I'm going to give a quick segment. I'll read a little bit, but it's called The Butterfly That Changed the World. One of the most fascinating moments happened in October of 1777. Now, this is a full year and a half after we declared independence, right? The British had never really lost. Then a relatively small American army won the battles of Saratoga. It wasn't the biggest battle, but historians often call it the turning point because France looked at this victory and said, maybe these Americans actually have a chance. France entered the war, money came, ships came, soldiers came, one victory changed history. Almost like the butterfly effect. One decision, one battle, one act of courage, changed the world. Sometimes the smallest moments become the biggest turning points. That's true for families, that's true for investing, that's true for life. And I'd say another statistic I love is in 1800, roughly 2% of the world's economic output was produced by America. Today, depending on the measurement, it's roughly 1/4 of the global GDP while representing only about 4% of the population. So we represent 4% of the population, 25 or a full quarter of the world's gross domestic product and things produced. That isn't because Americans are magically smarter, although it could be. It's just joking. It's because people tend to innovate. Freedom creates incentives, incentives create ideas, and ideas create prosperity. I love this. I say, it's one of those things to me that when you see these little battles, little stories, they make a massive difference, but we forget them. They get put away in the back. So I just wanted to bring that to you as well. There's the Battle of Saratoga battles were incredible. There's some more stories that go deeper into that. If you ever look at a little tiny book called The Butterfly Effect, read it if you ever want to. Every July 4th or near there, if you want to understand the battle that probably tipped the war in our favor. Very few men, very convincingly overturned a lot of armies and really pushed us forward towards who we are now. But let me give Ashley. Ashley, what is it? Let me give you a segment here and say, Ashley, what should we be paying attention to?
Thank you, Chris. Yes, so today we are going to be hosting our July birthday club that will take place here at our Gentian offices at noon. For anyone that wasn't able to celebrate their birthday with us in July, we invite you to come check out our August birthday club, which is out on our bulletin and ready for you to register for. That is on Wednesday, August the 12th. So again, if you're celebrating a birthday or weren't able to attend July's, we invite you to come to, again, August the 12th for our August birthday club. And we'll see those celebrating again today at noon. We also have this Sunday the Gentian Bluegrass at the Doty Family Farm for the first time. So we will have two bands, and this event starts at 12:30 again this Sunday, which is July the 12th. One band will start at 1 p.m., the Barreled Owl String Band, and then we will have a short intermission or a break at 3:30, and we will welcome the Soggy Prairie Band to complete our afternoon from 3:30 to 5:30. So again, please come check us out. If you have not already submitted an RSVP, we do have a little room. So make sure that you check out your bulletin or go to our Gentian website and RSVP. We will have 2 food trucks on site and of course, lots of camaraderie, and our entire team will be there to chat with you, talk with you, and just enjoy the afternoon. So it will be nice and sunny. So remember to bring that sun hat, an umbrella, and of course your pop-up chair. So again, that's this Sunday, July the 12th. And then we'll see you back here in 2 weeks on July the 22nd for our next bi-weekly video podcast. And that is going to be called Designing Freedom, Not Just Retirement. So make sure to tune in for that one again at 9 a.m. Central Time right here on Zoom. And of course, we have Ladies and Gentian coming up for July the 22nd. So make sure to check out our website to RSVP for that. And Rise and Shine is on the horizon, of course, for Monday, July the 27th. We thank you for all of your interest. Our VIP area is at capacity. However, we do have a wait list going for any cancellations that come up last minute. And of course, it is an open to the public event. So if you would like to just come check out the general area, listen to some great music, that is an option for you also. But please check with us first, get on that list so that you can join us in the Gentian VIP area. And that's all I have for us today. Stay tuned for more. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you. That's all, like 15 things. Come on now, Ashley. That's thank you very much. I appreciate that as well. As Ashley said, I still encourage people to come, even though our section is full. It's a free event. It's an open event. We're having Jamie McDonald. She's last year, I think, winner of the Up and Coming Christian Artist of the Year. She's very dynamic. So if you've heard that, please feel free to come as well. It's a great one. Now, let me end with this. I got 2 pieces here, but one. I think our greatest asset. People often ask, what's America's greatest natural resource? Is it natural gas, farmland, Silicon Valley? I don't really think so. I think our greatest asset and resource has always been people who are free to dream. Zach went to a class recently. I've been there as well. Many of us go to these, and it's really teaching us how to think, not what to think, but how to think. Big difference. I was always interested in people taught me how to think, not in what to think, because that's an opinion, rarely often a fact. And sometimes that's how people feel. But to think is a big part of it, and the freedom to do so. Millions arrived here with almost nothing. When you go to Ellis Island, you see that. Watching the abject fear on people's faces as they've left and come here. What caused them to leave everything their family's been for all the generations to go to a land that's just a potential promise? It's amazing. With 1 or 2 generations, many became doctors, teachers, entrepreneurs, inventors, business owners, community leaders, and it's not luck. It's opportunity. So one of my favorite quotes from Alex de Tocqueville is, America is great because America is good. Whether or not you think that really still applies today, the reminder certainly does. And nations aren't built on governments. We're built by neighbors, families, churches, businesses, volunteers, parents, mentors, friends. Good people doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. So here at Gentian, we spend our lives preserving families' financial independence and even their independence of what they want to do. And sometimes that's based in finance. More importantly, helping you discover what it is you want to do. We help you plan, live, and give. So when we're looking at your retirement, your life, your wealth, we help you plan it, we help you live it, and we help you give it. So we spend our lives, as I mentioned, but maybe financial independence exists because America first pursued political independence. Our founders weren't simply trying to become wealthier. They wanted to build a platform for freedom, to worship, to speak, to fail, to try again, to leave something better than they found it. That's stewardship and that's legacy. So for me, that's our challenge today. May we leave America, our communities, and our families a little bit stronger than we inherited them. What's interesting about giving, America donates hundreds of billions of dollars annually to charity, making it one of the world's wealthiest, most charitable nations in total giving, often giving more than most countries have in GDP. People talk about that, right? We give more than over half the world's countries have in gross domestic products. It's pretty amazing. When you look at these kind of facts, there's a ton more, but I won't go through. But I think this may be my closing thought is the founders gave us independence. Every generation since has been asked different questions, right? Will you be a good steward of that gift? We've been given this gift. Will you be a good steward of that gift? If so, how? Fantastic question to ask yourself. But here at Gentian, we believe the same principle applies to money, families, businesses, and to America itself. We are not merely owners, we're caretakers, we're stewards. Our responsibility is simple. We leave what we're inherited with a little bit stronger, a little wiser, and a little more helpful, a little kinder, and with more gratitude than we found it. And to me, that's a legacy worth celebrating. So to me, it wasn't just July 4th, but I'm going to call it, let's celebrate this every day. From us here at Gentian, from our galactic headquarters right here in Mequon, Wisconsin, on a beautiful 87-degree day in the summer, well, I appreciate you. We appreciate the introductions you give. We appreciate the life of yours that you give to us and share. We here every day walk in excited to hear what's going on with you and to help you with whatever challenges you may have and to celebrate with you, to cry with you about the things that maybe aren't going so well. With that, that's why we're here. You're why we're here. Thank you tremendously. Have a great rest of your week. Until 2 weeks from now, unless we see you today, signing off.